Imagine you're maybe in a new country or perhaps on a really crucial work call, and you want to express yourself perfectly in a foreign language. But then that dreaded internal translation loop kicks in.
Yes.
You're trying to form sentences in your head, translating from your native tongue, and, well, by the time you've got it sorted, the moment's just gone. It's so frustrating, right?
It really is.
What if you could just think in that language? Today, we're diving deep into exactly that. How you can achieve true fluency in a foreign language, moving way beyond just memorizing words to, well, natural, confident communication, the kind that feels effortless. Our mission, to arm you with the surprising truths, maybe, and the practical tools you actually need to make that leap.
That's exactly right. Achieving fluency isn't, it's not about finding some secret trick or a magic bullet, What's fascinating here, I think, is that it's really about embracing specific strategies, ones that are often overlooked, actually. And cleverly leveraging the modern tools we have now, we're going to unpack why consistent practice and, yes, even making mistakes are actually your best allies. We'll look at how you can genuinely rewire your brain to think in the language and which apps and methods can truly accelerate your progress.
And the insights for this deep dive, they come from a really diverse stack of sources. We're talking everything from in-depth analyses of top language exchange apps to expert articles on, like, the psychology of learning,
Learning psychology,
and practical guides on daily habits for language mastery. So, yeah, get ready to feel well-informed and hopefully truly empowered to tackle that new language. The foundation. Why consistent practice and micro-improvements are key. Okay, so let's unpack this first part. Many people, they search for the trick to learning a new language faster. They want the shortcut, the hack.
Everyone wants the hack.
Right, but our sources seem pretty clear on this. The only proven trick for faster language learning is getting as much speaking practice as possible. Seems there's just no bypassing that. But then how do you make that practice consistent?
Precisely. And that leads us directly to the immense power of daily habits. Consistency is truly fundamental. It's key to mastering any skill, really, but especially something as dynamic as a language. Daily exposure. It isn't just about repetition. It actively builds new neural connections in your brain.
Right.
This helps you avoid those really frustrating learning plateaus. And crucially, it moves new vocabulary from your short-term memory right into long-term storage, so you can recall it instantly when you need it.
Which is the goal.
Exactly. And the good news here is this doesn't mean hours and hours of study every day. Even small, consistent efforts like, say, 10 minutes of reading daily or listening to a podcast on your commute, they add up. They lead to remarkable improvements over time. It's really the cumulative effect that's the real game changer.
Okay, but how do you sustain that consistency? Especially without burning out, particularly when progress feels, well, slow sometimes.
Yeah, that's a common hurdle.
That's where our sources bring up this incredibly powerful strategy of micro-improvement. It's about taking those big, sometimes intimidating language goals.
They become fluent.
Exactly. And breaking them down into easy, simple, and achievable tasks. There's this anecdote about someone, a native Hindi speaker, who thought they could never learn English well enough to write confidently. They genuinely believed they'd never even learn, 20% of the words in an Oxford dictionary.
Wow, that's quite a limiting belief.
Yeah, but over years, they gradually improved. Not by cramming, but just by reading short stories, writing a bit, listening to English movies with subtitles, and just consistent practice.
Slow and steady.
The key insight here, I think, is that wanting that immediate result can be incredibly detrimental. It often leads people to give up too soon, thinking, if I can't have it now, I don't want it at all.
The all-or-nothing mindset.
But slow, steady, daily progress. That's the real path to mastery. It's about celebrating those tiny victories along the way. 2, the unsung hero. Why embracing mistakes is crucial for progress.
So we've talked about the power of consistency, but even with daily practice, there's this one giant obstacle that trips up almost everyone: the fear of making mistakes.
Oh, definitely. Big one.
You know the feeling mixing up French noun genders, maybe? Or getting ser and a star confused in Spanish and accidentally calling yourself, I don't know, a boring person instead of bored.
Happens all the time.
I think we've all been there, haven't we? I once confidently asked for a polo chicken when I actually meant polo a shirt in a shop in Spain.
Yeah.
The shop assistant looked very confused.
Classic.
But what if I told you that very fear is actually holding you back, and the key to progress is, well, leaning into those errors? Absolutely. And it's precisely those moments, maybe that little bit of embarrassment even, that actually become your brain's fastest learning accelerators. Here's the kind of mind-bending truth that flips language learning on its head. Mistakes are not failures. They are essential for growth.
Oh, okay. How so?
First, making an error proves you're actively using the language, not just passively absorbing it. It's a sign you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone.
Right.
Which is where learning happens.
Right. You're trying.
Exactly. Second, and this is crucial, errors actually help you remember. Studies show that when your brain corrects an error, it forms stronger neural connections. That leads to better retention. So that momentary frustration of making a mistake, it's literally cementing the knowledge deeper than if you'd just gotten it right the first time.
That's fascinating. So messing up helps memory.
In a way, yes. Third, errors expose patterns. Patterns in grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary. By repeatedly correcting the same sorts of errors, learners begin to internalize the correct forms, making them more automatic over time. And finally, overcoming mistakes builds resilience and, importantly, confidence. Language learning isn't really about being perfect. It's about effective communication, getting your message across.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the listener, in practice? How do you actually embrace mistakes?
Well, it means you should actively almost welcome them. One practical way is to maybe keep a mistake journal.
Interesting.
Yeah, just write down the errors you notice yourself making along with their corrections. Over time, you'll start to see patterns and hopefully reduce repeating those same ones. Most importantly, practice speaking fearlessly. Just go for it. Native speakers generally appreciate the effort, really, and are often kind enough to correct you gently if needed.
That's usually true, in my experience.
And always remember to actively listen to and imitate native speakers. That reinforcement will help cement the correct usage in your mind. 3. The fluency leap. Training your brain to think in the language.
Now let's pivot slightly to a huge hurdle for so many learners. That inner language translation loop.
The translation habit.
Yeah, where you hear something in English, translate it to your native language in your head, then you formulate a response in your native language, and then translate it back to English before you actually speak.
It's exhausting just describing it.
It is, and this constant back and forth dramatically slows down communication, and, well, it completely hinders true fluency. It's like having an unnecessary middleman in every single conversation.
That's such a crucial point. And what's truly transformative here are the profound benefits you get from thinking directly in your target language. It leads to improved proficiency, much faster communication, enhanced fluency. Your writing skills often get better too, and just a greater comfort level with the language overall.
It sounds like the holy grail of language learning.
It's certainly one of the hallmarks of genuine fluency, yeah. It moves you from being a constant translator to being a natural speaker.
So how do we actually do that? How do we shift that inner language? Our sources, including insights from linguists like Dr. Stephen Krashen, make a fascinating point about speaking early on. They suggest that true fluency develops not necessarily from forcing output, but from prioritizing something called comprehensible input. Can you explain what that means and why it's so critical?
Yeah, it's a fantastic insight, really influential. Comprehensible input basically means listening to or reading messages that you generally understand, even if you don't know every single word.
Okay.
Think of it like how a baby learns their first language. They hear thousands upon thousands of hours of language, context, interaction, all before they produce their first coherent sentence. When you immerse yourself in input you can mostly understand, your brain naturally starts to build patterns, connections, and meaning, often without the need for conscious translation.
So you absorb it more naturally.
Exactly. Speaking will then tend to flow more naturally when you feel comfortable and ready, rather than being something you force from day one.
That makes so much sense. So building on that, how do we acquire words and phrases in a way that sort of bypasses that translation step?
Well, it really comes down to learning words in varied contexts, not just as single definitions from a list.
Right, not just flashcards with one word.
Precisely. Instead of just learning butterflies and stomach separately, learn the idiom butterflies in my stomach and connect it directly to the feeling of nervousness. Or understand that my stomach is tied in knots can describe a similar feeling. This builds strong, direct connections in your English brain. Just like native speakers have, they associate the phrase with the feeling, not a translation.
And it's not just about individual words or idioms, is it? It sounds like it's about whole ideas, too.
Exactly right. Connecting whole sentences or thoughts with situations is key. Imagine walking into a bakery, right? And the warm, inviting smell reminds you of home. A native speaker might spontaneously say something like, "Oh, the smell of fresh baked bread reminded me of home, so I just had to stop in and buy some."
They wouldn't think, smell, bread, remind, home.
No, they don't translate each word. The experience and the feeling immediately trigger the English expression, holistically. The more you connect entire thoughts to situations and experiences, the more spontaneously you'll express yourself without that internal translation getting in the way.
Okay, another powerful strategy mentioned for cultivating this direct